What in the 20s is going
in the
on?
20s,
Think about
yeah. The 20s, baby.
Plenty. What in the 20s is going on? 20s, baby. This is the 20s.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zama Mkize, and this is What's in the 20s, a podcast where you listen to me grow through its baby. On this episode, we're going to be speaking about losing your spark. I think we have all, at least at some points, once in our lives, have felt this. I know I felt this many, many times in my life. You know, just that feeling of like this light that you carry, this joy that you are, this spring in your step. You know what I'm saying? It feels like it's not there. It feels like it's a bit dim. It feels like it's a bit, it's just dark, man. Or it just feels like you're not shining in the way that you like to, or in the way that you can feel this thing inside of you that makes you feel warm and good about life and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of feels like you don't have access to it, you know? I think this feeling of like losing your spark, you know, trying to describe what it feels like, I think it's like feeling very out of touch, right? First and foremost, feeling very out of touch with yourself. You know, it sometimes even feels like you're on autopilot. Like you can't feel yourself in the present moment. You can't feel like your body. You can't feel your emotions. You can't feel what you're doing, who you're talking to. You can't even remember certain conversations and interactions and stuff like that, because you kind of it feels like an out of body experience sometimes, you know, certain moments will pass, you know, you don't even know how you got from one point to another, because it feels like such a gap in like your memory and all of that, because you're just so out of touch, you know, it feels like like life is moving around you and stuff, and you're not able to grapple with it. I think that it can also feel lonely, because when you're so out of touch, you feel like no one is really seeing you in that time, and you're also struggling to really see yourself also in this like feeling of like you're losing your spark. Like I think it just feels very in your own head. It feels, and it's also like it's consuming, right? It's so consuming, because as I'm saying, you don't even know how to interact with people and stuff like that, because you don't feel like you are present in your body and in your mind. And so it can feel very lonely, because you don't even know how to welcome someone into that space, into what you're going through and what you're feeling. You know, when you even hear people say like, I'm not feeling so great today, but there's like, you know, they can't really pinpoint what it, because you just kind of feel a bit out of it, you know? I think that for some people, you can feel a feeling of like numbness. You know, you feel so numb to reality, numb to your emotions, numb to what's going on around you and all the rest. Like I think that it can make you feel indifferent, you know, where you're neither here nor there. It's neither good or bad. It's neither, like you're kind of just, it is what it is. You kind of just start feeling like that, because you're just losing that sense of identity, sense of personality, sense of just that charge, you know, that energizes you towards certain things and passions, etc., etc. Like I think you feel very disconnected, you know, and I think, as I'm saying, that's why we can feel lonely in these moments when we feel like we're losing our spark. You know, it feels like we're struggling to be happy. You know, it feels like we have to work hard to find this joy, attain this joy. Like I think that when you're in that season of like you don't have your spark and stuff, it feels like people are happy around you. Why can't it be you? You know, when is it going to be yours? What's going on? Why do I feel this low? Why do I feel this like down and frustrated and all of that? And I think it also messes with your self-esteem and confidence and stuff when you're in a season of like you're not having your spark, because I think that if you're just feeling just down and stuff, you know, it's really difficult to feel great about yourself. It's really difficult to feel empowered by yourself, to feel maybe perhaps beautiful and, or, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Like you just don't even feel attracted to yourself, you know, because you're not even in yourself, if I'm making sense with that. And I think that how all of this kind of happens, right? How we get to a place in our lives where we feel like we're losing our spark is a bunch of reasons. I don't think we lose ourselves all at once in one big moment. I think it's a buildup of so many things that have happened that we keep chipping away at ourselves until at some point we wake up and we feel like, oh my gosh, like, who am I? What's going on? What am I? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, losing yourself doesn't happen once. It happens in so many different moments when, for example, you've decided, or let me not say decided, but like in a series of events where you've neglected your own needs, right? So maybe it's really important for you to do certain things in order to self-regulate, right? Ignoring or neglecting your needs could be, just ways of taking care of yourself. If it's important that you have to take a walk every day just to clear your mind and all of that, and now you haven't been doing that, for a while, it could build up like, whatever you're going through, the tension in your mind and stuff, because you've neglected to do those things that keep you sane. You've neglected to keep your routines and habits and stuff that keep you going, that keep you motivated, that keep you just focused on what it is that you're doing. If you know that you need to do this, you need to show up for that, you need to like partake in certain things in order for you to be optimal and function the best version of yourself, and you're not doing that, I think over time you eventually just start losing yourself. I think that if you compromise on your boundaries a lot with people, like say this is this is where you say like enough is enough, but then like for certain people you just allow them over and over and over. Saying yes to somebody else and you keep saying no to yourself, you're kind of losing yourself, right? You're kind of allowing someone certain privileges and access and stuff to you that you don't even want to give up, right? You're compromising on your peace, you're compromising on your safety, you're compromising on your sanity and all of that. And when you do that, I think we do that for the people we love a lot, like because it's them, we just allow them to take and take and take and stuff like that, sometimes with no end and everything. And eventually it takes a toll on us. This could be our partners, people that we interact with all the time. This could be our closest friends and stuff like that. And when we just say yes and yes and yes and yes, eventually we feel like that joy that we had, that enjoyment we had and stuff like that, being, alive, being around people and stuff, it feels like it takes away from that element, like the enjoyment you had being in their company, and everything. It starts to chip away at you, because now you start to get agitated being around them. You start to get frustrated, or you start to feel low, or you start to feel other things that you don't want to feel towards the people you care about, but it's because you kept compromising on the things that were good to you. As I said, like your own needs, what your standard is, how you'd like to be treated, how you'd like to be respected and all of that. But because you kind of shift your goalpost for the people you care about and stuff like that, I think eventually you just start building resentment. Eventually you just start feeling kind of insane when it comes to the people we're closest to, and it's really difficult to try and manage that. I think that if you're in a space or environment that is causing a lot of stress and pressure, like say work, I know when I was in varsity and I just had back-to-back assignments and submissions and all of that kind of stuff, I would easily lose my spark because I was stressed out, and I felt like the pressure was so intense. I felt like it was just I didn't even know what to smile about. Nothing was funny, things were hot, and that's how I feel even sometimes, when I have certain deadlines right now and all of that. Like I feel like when things aren't spaced out the way that I need them to, and it feels like there's this going on and that going on or whatever it is, like it feels like I'm losing a grip of myself. Like I feel like I am becoming so out of touch with myself because there's so much that needs to get done. There's so much that's due. There's so much expected of me. There's so much I need to show up for. And it just feels like, oh my goodness, and I think that's a very valid reason, to start to feel like you're losing your spark, is like when you're just, all you're doing is working and you're not, as I said in my first point, honoring your needs. If you're going to be working, you need to self-regulate. You need to do things that bring you back to yourself, that pour into you and find joy at the end of the day, because there's going to be an imbalance, right? A complete imbalance where you're pouring way too much into this other thing and you're trading off, yourself, you're trading off your peace, you're trading off your sanity and stuff to obtain this other thing. And I think that when we also just keep accepting less than what we deserve, like if we're in an environment where we keep, because that's what I'm saying, you could be working so hard, but the returns might not be worth it. The reward might not be worth it. You feel like, why am I putting in so much effort, whether it is into a relationship, into your job, into whatever it is, and you feel like the returns just don't make sense to you. It will make you insane. It will make you feel like you're losing your self-respect, your self-dignity. It will make you feel like there is something about you that it's just not adding up. And it's very frustrating that your lights will dim, because maybe you're in a space where, when I say you accept less than what you deserve, it's like you're constantly dimming your lights so that other people can shine, so that other spaces can shine, so that everything else can overpower who you are. That will certainly, you know what I'm saying, just make you feel small, make you feel just not okay, and I think we have to be very wary of those spaces that ask us to do that, ask us to make us feel small and stuff. I think other ways that we can feel like we're losing our lights is when we've outgrown those certain spaces and people and environments. When you feel like you ever just, I remember this one time, it was last year, and I was out at some place. I can't even remember actually, but yeah, I just remember how I felt in that moment where I'm like, I'm never coming back here ever again. I'm never, and it's just that like realization, when it hits you that like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I still doing, and it always just hits you like in this, you can feel the discomfort in you. You can feel when like, this just doesn't fulfill you anymore. This just doesn't make you happy and all the rest. And I remember just feeling that so graphically, to the point where I literally didn't go anywhere for the next 6 months after that. Like, I stayed in, I stayed at home, and I was like, I actually can't even bring myself to be outside and stuff, because I was just like, what is actually going on? Like, I knew that in the season I was in and stuff, it didn't allow for me to be in those spaces, and I felt like I was losing my light, and I think that we all have those moments where we're just sitting in the middle of some place and thinking, what am I doing? Like interacting with certain people from your past, and you're just thinking like, why is this person still here? Like, why am I still allowing this person to have access? Like, why am I still talking? Like, what is going on? And I think like when we start feeling like you've outgrown, or you're just not in that season anymore and stuff, I think that we will start to feel like something is wrong in us or something. Like in the beginning, it feels like you're not okay, right? And you just kind of feel like, you don't know where to place yourself. You don't really know what to do. And like, that's what like the thing inside of you does. Like, you just kind of feel like you're losing yourself a bit. But I think it's in this instance, I think you're more kind of transforming into something else, transitioning, into a different version of yourself. I think different signs that you can pick up on as to like, if I'm losing my lights and stuff would be, say for example, you have like hobbies and things that you love to do, your favorite things, and all of a sudden you're just not doing them anymore. I think that's a good sign, a good indicator that like perhaps you're losing parts of yourself if you're unable to do the things that make you happy, if you're just in a season where you're not putting in effort into yourself. Like, I think that when we're in a season of like, just losing our lights and stuff, everything feels heavy, or everything kind of feels just, as I said, you become so detached from yourself. And so you don't put in the extra effort to look good. You don't put in the extra effort to like hygiene and clean yourself and eat well and this and that. Like, you just kind of don't care. It kind of feels like you lose hope, or you kind of just feel, as I said earlier, like indifferent, like you just don't, it's neither this or that, and so you're not putting in that little extra to feel good about yourself, because you actually don't care about how you feel. You're kind of just so far removed from that. I think that when you isolate, right, when we're in this space, because that's what we do, like, because we don't feel good about ourselves and all of that, we don't want to interact with people. We don't want to have to be around people. We don't want to have to talk to people and all of that kind of stuff. So we withdraw. As I said earlier, what did I do? I stayed home for the next 6 months because I could not, like, and that's what we do. Like, when we pull ourselves back, it feels like, that spark is just gone. And I think it's also just a way of like making ourselves as small as possible and not take up space. And so by that, I mean, like, when I say isolate, not even just in the physical sense, but like you also just don't talk. You're a lot more quiet around people. You feel like you're in your quiet era or something, but in a sense of like, you have nothing to say. You know, you feel like you have nothing to contribute, you have nothing to share, you have nothing to update. Like you don't want to talk, you know, and everybody else talking just kind of feels very irritating to you because you're just like, oh, why are we talking? And that's the thing. It's like, because you're just feeling a bit down and stuff, you don't really know how to engage and everything like that. And you understand why people are still trying to engage with you. And that's the thing, you try your best to not take up, you know, to take up as little room as possible, to take up as little space as possible. And so, as I said, by not putting in effort, by not seeing people, by not participating in your hobbies and stuff, by not talking, by not, you know, you're just trying to vanish, you're just trying to disappear. You're trying to be a wallflower, you know, just stick on the wall and stuff, a fly on the wall or whatever. And I think that, yeah, like these are just ways that we just become uninterested. That's the word. Yeah. We just become so much more uninterested in the world, in our friends, in ourselves. And it's such a tough season to go through because you also don't know how long this phase is going to last and you don't know how dark it's going to get, you know, before you're able to pull yourself out. Certain solutions I can give when you're in this, you know, at least, you know, what has worked for me. Starting small is just accomplishing daily goals, you know, having something to tick off. I think if I'm able to say that, like, okay, today this whole week, I need to make sure I get up and I make my bed this whole week, and being able to just tick that, like, that is a sense of routine I'm building again after feeling like I've lost my sense of caring for anything. Now I'm starting to care about something so I can say, oh, I've done this, you know? And I think those are things you should start with, like something you know you can achieve, not a goal that feels, you know, because remember, you're in a very fragile and vulnerable state. So don't like try so hard to get back to who you used to be, because the journey might be that you're supposed to be getting into a different version of yourself. You're supposed to be transitioning into a different version. I think it's more about just finding little tasks to do every day that you can feel proud about yourself for, you know, saying I drank this much water today. I feel, you know, like I accomplished something. I ticked this task off. I submitted this thing or whatever it is. Just go as small as, like, just keep doing little tasks that start to make you feel good. Start to reconnect also. Reconnect with your hobbies, reconnect like with your friends, like these small little things, right, which can help you feel joy again. Like I feel like after some time when I just started seeing a few of my friends again and stuff, I started to feel my joy come back, you know, these friends who speak life into me and pour light into me and all of that. Like I felt like those were things I needed to do because I disconnected from them for a while because of what I was going through. And then I had to realize, like, you know, I need to welcome them into this experience and all of that. I think invest in your time alone, you know, when you're spending all this time alone, find things to do that make you feel good. Like I love a little like self-care day at home, you know, if I can just put on a little face mask or something, whatever it is, those are things that make me feel good, that make me feel like myself, that make me feel like I'm putting in effort, like I am trying, you know. So I think in your time alone, what are things, you know, discovering new music and stuff like that, you know, finding a new show to watch that you can get interested in and talk about, whatever, like enjoy this. What is it that you like to do? Rediscover, you know, and all of that. Like, I think if you're able to enjoy your time alone and find, you know, the light, create that light internally and within you, you're able to share that with others. Like, I think sometimes we shouldn't be starting externally to find that light and that spark again, because the truth is you are the light all along. You know, it's not this light that you have to return to or whatever it is. Like, you are it. And so it's just about kind of igniting yourself again. It's about like getting excited again. I think about the time when I was so withdrawn and all of that I had to give myself something to look forward to. I remember I bought a ticket to I think like a jazz event or whatever, and that was so great. You know, I even went to the theater and everything, and like I didn't mind doing it by myself. You know, I went to both these things by myself, but like number one, I gave myself something to look forward to. Number two, I invested in my time alone, and those were things that I enjoyed. Those were things that made me feel happy. Those were things that just made me feel like, oh my gosh, what a thing to be alive. And I think that when you're able to just do things like this, slowly but surely you'll find yourself just creating joy out of things, you know, and finding inspiration and meeting people. Also, like going to places by myself gave me an opportunity to meet new people and have new conversations and new experiences and stuff, which was really, really, really great for me. I think that I became so used to just like staying in my little corner and like not interacting with people or whatever it is, that like, yeah, I needed to kind of open my mind a bit. I needed to open my heart a lot. You know, I think when we lose our spark and stuff, like our heart becomes so small, so closed off, so like all of these things. And I think that when we're able to just kind of share ourselves, when we're able to just kind of pour ourselves, and we're able to just kind of rediscover, because that's the thing, meeting new people helps you rediscover things about yourself and everything. And like that was the whole point. Like I think you just gotta get out of your box a bit. You gotta zoom out of your problems a bit, zoom out of what you're feeling, and just kind of open your mind to more, to different, to something just better and stuff again. I think that hanging out with other people allows you the opportunity to do those things. So that's just really what I wanted to speak about today, is that I know that we can often find ourselves in situations where we kind of just feel like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm feeling kind of life is just passing me by, I'm not really present, I'm not, you know. And I want you to know that it's not a terrible place. You know, it really could mean that a change needs to happen, you know, that something different needs to take place. You need to hang around different energies, different spaces, different people. You need to partake in a different project, a different course, maybe at school, whatever, a different job, a different, you know, like I think this is usually when you're recognizing that you're in a different season of your life. And that's why life will bring you to a place where you feel so uncomfortable, so unbelievably uncomfortable with where you're at right now, because that's the only way it can make you just more aware of where you're at and where it is you need to be. And yeah, so don't beat yourself down about it. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some peace, and like recognize that like this is important. This is equally as important as the moments where you do feel present with yourself, because yeah, this way you're able to just come back to yourself, if that makes sense. But yeah, as always, I'm sending my love. Goodbye.
What in the 20s is going
in the 20s
here?
The 20s, baby.
What in the 20s is going here for my 20s, baby? This is the 20s.